Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of our Koki Otaku. Today with us, we have a very special guest. He voices the ever-graceful Shall in Sugar Apple Fairy Tale, Justin Shamall in Why Raeliana Ended Up at the Duke's Mansion, Kyousuke Kuga in Prince of Stride, Bernardo Dión from GARO the Animation, and honestly, the list keeps on going. We do have a lot to talk about, so please give it up for Ivan Jasso. Woo!
Thank you so much for the introduction. How's everybody doing?
Muchísimas gracias por acompañarnos hoy.
Claro, mucho gusto estar aquí. Estoy muy emocionado de hablar con ustedes. Vamos a ver de qué platicamos, right? Let's see what we talk about.
I had to do it because it's rarely we have many fellows or voice actors that are from Puerto Rico and they represent Puerto Rico, and also Hispanic community is in them, but not everybody speaks full bilingual. And when we were in the backstage, suddenly I hear Ivan, "Hey, ¿cómo están?" And I was like, "Whoa, like you, right? What's going on here?" So it was a beautiful surprise. So thank you, Ivan.
It's always a wonderful surprise when you hear a fellow Latino or even sometimes non-Latinos who are able to share that language that we learned as children or that we grew up with, right? You don't hear it very often sometimes in this industry, and it's always just like you said, a beautiful surprise.
People underestimate the joy that we feel even when we have, like you mentioned, non-Latino people. We are something in conventions, presenting in multiple conventions, and many times we have this guy that said, "Muy bien, me alegro." We're like, damn, we felt that it's not your language and you went all out, and this feels so great. So definitely, it is a joy, and we always feel. Talking about beautiful joys.
I want to know where it's at before we start, because you talked about the convention. I gotta say, we were in one convention and we had advertised it as that one specific one that we were going to do in Spanish, and people came in and they didn't know it was in Spanish except for like this one person, and he was like, "I came to this one because it was going to be in Spanish and I'm going to learn, and I wanted to practice my Spanish." And we're like, "We got you, buddy. We got you. We're doing this in Spanish, but we're also doing it kind of like English, so we just Spanglish so everybody can understand." Yeah. And he was so happy about it.
Oh, that's
so
that's
don't
awesome.
underestimate learning a second language.
And talking about those moments that they're like gray, they're not black or white, they're gray. How they're called at the same time. One of your latest characters in the anime, Challe from Sugar Apple Fairy Tale. That character, that surprising. I call him when I saw him, and I was like, I need to talk to the voice actor. When I saw him, I'm like, I really hope for opportunity, because for me, he's one of the few male yandere characters that I have met. So for those who haven't seen yet Sugar Apple Fairy Tale, how would you describe this series?
The series is a wonderfully beautiful treat. It's a show that's about Anne who's trying to become she's trying to she leaves to try to be the best at what she does, right? Which is a sugar confection and making these wonderful like art pieces almost out of sugar sweets, right? And I play Shall, who is a fairy in this world, and I'm a warrior fairy, but doesn't look like a typical warrior fairy. So throughout the series, you see folks kind of like confused that I'm a warrior fairy. But I end up being purchased by Anne. As horrible as that sounds, she's doing it for good reasons, and I accompany her on her journey. And throughout the journey, you see their relationship kind of evolve, and you see her as he kind of tries to be stoic and pretend like he doesn't care, but he ends up kind of caring and helping and just being the strong backbone for Anne's journey.
I say yandere, but I think it's tsundere is the profile that better fit to Shaw. As a voice actor, Did it ever cross your mind with the wildest idea that you will have the role of a male fairy who is giant, beautiful, and aggressive as acid, but sweet as the apple that they confectionate? Did that ever cross your mind? Because for me, it is like, what?
No, I mean, but voicing anime is anime, right? And it's always interesting when you come into a new show and you sometimes you find out like what character you're voicing. And it's like, he's like a goblin. Oh, but he's like a nice goblin. Oh, he's a mean warrior rock creature. Or now I'm gonna be this dragon and just make some dragon noises, or I'm just a regular person. So coming in, I was just like, I mean, yes, I was surprised, and I never thought I would be this, beautiful, charming. Well, not really. Well, yeah, he's charming in his own way. Beautiful, like nicely drawn, sexy fairy.
Yes, he is. Credit to the guy. He is.
And so I was just grateful for Sean Gann, the director, to brought me in and wanted me to play this type of this character. It's always I feel like there's a few characters that I've played that are kind of in that range of like soft-spoken, stoic, sultry, almost mysterious, dark characters, and he's no exception. But what I love about Challe is the sides to him that he has, the passion that he has, right? He's very much like, I'm just here doing whatever I want. You do I don't care what you say. I don't care what you do. Sure, I'll do this, blah, blah, blah. But then he has that other side where he's like, you leave her alone. And he'll just, fight for what he knows is right or what he feels is right. Right. And so it's been exciting to do that, to play those two sides of that one character, and all the while being a big fairy in this world. A fairy. You think of fairies, you think of little fairies flying around, or Tinkerbell or something like that, right? Not that, and it's just interesting. And that's what's beautiful about the show too, because there's all kinds of different, fairies is just the species, like the race of these beings, right? It's not like they're not just one thing. Just like the humans, they're different. These fairies in this world get manifested by a human admiring something. There's a moment in the show where Anne is admiring this blueberry glistening with the dew and the sun, and she's and just in awe of it. And then it manifests into another little fairy, right? And I think there's a lot of magic and beauty in that idea of how these creatures came about because of the beauty of nature,
Which you brought a memory to me that really hit me hard with that fairy. They spoke about the life cycle of those fairies, and this fairy, spoiler, we're going to have a spoiler here, guy. We're not going to lose this chance. So, I mean, the series has been released a long time. Come on, guys.
So catch up.
Yeah. Will not regret it. So, this fairy, they spoke to, hey, some fairy can have a long life. Some of them doesn't have it. And this fairy that you're seeing right now, which is spoken to Anne, she's like, yeah, my lifespan is very short. And for me, it was like, damn, that's kind of depressing, acknowledging that you have a short life. And the response from the fairy was golden. That I was like, I never just crossed my mind. I don't know. I mean, it is short, but I'm just, because it's short, I'd enjoy every second in this life. And I will appreciate it until the moment. And she's like, what do you want to do for your last remaining time? I want to enjoy the beauty of life. And I was like, damn, that was a deep message over there.
Mm-hmm. It's something that we should all think about, right? We should all enjoy, because in this, compared to the age of the Earth or the world, the universe, whatever, we don't really, actually know, but whatever that is, our life is a little this little fragment, just un pedacito, right? And so it's like, I feel like we should allow ourselves to enjoy it more. But sometimes there's a lot of things that prevent us from it. But I like to think that we can try to find those moments to just let everything else go and just kind of enjoy the sky, look at a tree, go outside, walk around, just breathe in the air, different things like that.
There's only two paths: existential crisis or enjoy the beauty of life. And her message was, I'm not going to this existential crisis, I'm going to the beauty of life, which it is a deep message. And talking about beauty of life and something, Second Life, one of the anime series that was released on the spring of 2023, which really cultivated my heart. Talking about, this is a very long title, why Raeliana ended up at the Duke Mansion, where you had the character of Justin Shamall.
And that's one of your favorites, right?
I mean, okay, yeah. Well, series that, I mean, many. When we first saw the series, we thought it was more. I think everybody thought it was going to be more directed to female audience, and for the surprise, it was very loved by male character. I mean, or all gender, to be more honest. Everybody loved it at the end. And technically, quick story about Raeliana. We have an isekai like always. Only that this isekai is not a video game. It's a book that our main character, Raeliana, is reading. And for luck, she knows the story was happening in the isekai that she reincarnates. However, the character that she reincarnates, it is one that's destined to die. And she knows going to die. So as a person who died, what do? You just wait for your death, or you knowing all the story, you're going to make yourself to survive. That's when we have Raeliana, the surviving warrior in this story, where we have dukes and nobles and all this class, and she is technically supposed to be an antagonist in the story, that she moved all the pieces. She thought there would be no consequence, but we are learning during the story that consequence happened with the only slice of change on history. And we have one of those movements that she made on her favor to save herself is with Justin Shamall. How you did feel voice acting Justin Shamall in this series?
Voicing Justin, it's one of those times where I went in there and he has a certain elegance almost about it, how he is, right? His person, which is the opposite of a character like Challe, which is very much just almost monotone, not really, but for someone like Justin, because of what what he's trying to do, and his conflicts there in the family and in the show, you have to almost stand up straight when you talk, right? You speak his lines, so it felt very much like it felt very much not work, but it felt it was exciting because I get, like I think I said before, when I get to do something a little different than I guess who I am or how I talk, right? It's always wonderful to go in and do that. And I feel like I have a natural accent. It's very light. I feel it's light. Some people don't, but that's another story. And so going in there and trying to I never like to erase my voice, because it's my voice and it's part of who I am, right? As an actor, we do that all the time. And so going in there and figuring out who this character is, how he sounds, that challenge, it's a beautiful thing as an actor. It's always fun to jump in there.
Definitely. And adding to your character in the series, many of this character like Shamall, Justin, they knew what Raeliana. They knew that Raeliana was trying to have something on her head, and she is moving the piece in her favor. But I feel like something that we all learned from this series, that all this character didn't say because she was beautiful, because the way she made, because the way she approached the situation. She approached everything, every scene so professionally, and I got to put caption that word professionally in a such elegant way with education that even the character that they knew, Raeliana has something in their hand that she knew more than she was saying. They just play her game just because her professional approach, her elegance. And that's something, one of the lessons learned, guys, take notes on that, because many times, educational approach professionally, it takes you very far than you might thought.
Mm-hmm. You got to play the game to get ahead sometimes.
And talking about playing the game, on the Sky Speed and Park Out, one of your main character on the Prince of Stride alternative, Kyousuke Kuga.
Yeah, Prince of Stride, yep. Kyousuke Kuga. That's another one of those characters that is very much like, I think one of his first scenes is he's like comes out, he's like getting off of his motorcycle, and the wind is blowing and his hair is flowing behind him, and he's taking his helmet off, I think, or something like that. But yeah, he's very much one with the wind. That was one of the an inside joke that I think that we would always say is that Kyousuke, he was like, "Oh, I hear the wind calling me," because his hair was always flowing in the wind, and he was always very, very, very soft-spoken and very like, we need to do this. Like he very, very confident in the way he spoke, but not loud, right? Confident, and there was strength in his calmness. Yeah.
Did you feel like reflecting yourself in this character at any point?
About perfecting myself? Or reflecting myself?
More, everything about all those details. Do you see at any point?
I mean, I always try to, when I'm in the booth, and then, sometimes, it tickles me sometimes, how sometimes the characters, the extremity of the personality of the character, and just when you voice it and you become it, or you be it, and then afterwards you're like, oh, I just did that. That was cool. That was fun. It's that was a cool show. That was a cool show because it was interesting, the sport that they played, Stride. How it was kind of like a parkour, what do you call it? Relay race almost, right? The way that the thing that they were playing, I was like, man, I want to do that. Why can't that be a real sport? I would have done that in high school or something. And so, the watching that animation, there's one scene, like all the scenes where they were actually like doing the sport. And when you get to, when I got to say lines as I'm like pretending to run in the booth, those are always fun, right? Because you get, it's almost like a virtual reality game when you're watching the animation on the screen, and you see your script, you see the animation, and it's like, well, you mean the only way to get to sound like what this character looks like is to actually try to do it. So you start going, trying to pretend like you're running in the booth and talking kind of out of breath, and that's a special thing. We don't all get to do that in our work, right?
Right. So when you were doing this, you sounded out of breath. Did you ever feel like you were sweating?
Do I ever feel like I'm sweating in?
Yeah. No.
While working.
Yeah, when you were voicing Kyousuke Kuga and Prince of Stride, so you were trying to sound like you're out of breath, and you're doing like these exercises. Did you ever get to the point that you were sweating?
I was sweating. Yeah. I mean, not that profusely, like not like drenched.
No, I get it.
But yeah, I mean, there were times where if we would do it a couple times or a few times, or if there was a longer session, yeah, there was. Sometimes you get a little sweaty, little droplets, and you're like, okay, yeah. But yeah, that also happens whenever you're when you have like intense scenes where you're like yelling or something like that.
Really?
I mean, maybe I'm the only one. I don't know. all the other voice actors can say, "Oh, well, you're full of it. You don't know what you're talking about." You know.
I mean,
Oh.
we have some story from voice actor that they
Yeah.
we had to do here. I had to do something about to act like half a lollipop. Oh, I have to do X, Y, Z. We're here. What? Like that would be fun to have a video shot of those moments. How you guys made this moment happen?
Yeah. Well, you gotta. I mean, sometimes characters are eating. Characters are like if they're like, I don't know, biting on something while they're fighting or while they're walking or carrying things. Like you have to, you have to sound like it has to sound real, right? It has to sound. You're in the booth, so you're not walking in the field with like they are, but we have to figure out how can we make it sound real, right? So do you just imagine and pretend? Do you want to pick up a chair? I don't know, right? I guess everybody could do what everybody has their own ways of doing it, right? Eating is fun. We're trying to like chew on your tongue and talk at the same time. That's always fun to do that, especially when they're eating really fast or they're drinking something. But the good thing is sometimes that Japanese already has the audio, and sometimes it's been transferred over. It's good enough that they'll just use like a slurping sound, or whatever, to do it. Sometimes, not all the time.
Okay, so you were kind of like making yourself run, or so you could sound like Princess Stride, like Kyousuke Kuga and Princess Stride. Have there been any other like weird things you've had to do in the booth to, apart from eating? So you eating and then the exercise. Like, has there been any other like weird things you've had to do to embody the character?
To embody the character. Let me think really quick. Let me see. Well, maybe this isn't weird, but every time there's any kind of like sword fighting or anything like that, I essentially like shadow box in the booth. Like, I pretend like I'm fighting with it or whatever.
Yeah.
That always helps to get the to get that movement in the voice, that action in the voice. So I like to do that. Yeah, I just like to do that.
Talking about that action in the booth, talking about not sport, talking about hunting, a more extreme anime. Anime, we're talking about witch hunting, talking about GARO, the animation, where you had the character of Bernardo Dión.
Bernardo Dión.
So what is this anime about?
This anime, this anime is interesting. This was the first anime that I voiced. Before, when it was just Funimation, before it all rolled into Crunchyroll. And Caitlin Glass, who was the director, which she's always been very good, or she's always been advocate of bringing in new voices, bringing in diverse voices, people of different backgrounds, giving everyone an opportunity. This show was about these knights. It's almost I think of Power Rangers because they would like transform, they would summon, and they would become these like knights, right, in this full armor, and they would fight. And
Power Ranger Sailor Moon.
Yeah, or Sailor Moon. Yeah, Sailor Moon. Exactly. There you go. That's a better reference.
Whenever somebody says transformation, like the quintessential first one that always comes to my mind is Sailor Moon, because that's the one I grew up with. Right.
You're thinking about the Power Ranger old age.
Yeah. That was a different transformation. But because this show was set in a fictional place that was a resemblance of kind of like what's Spain, maybe, was kind of, they were obviously influenced by like a Spanish culture, or Caitlin wanted to seek out and search for folks that were of Latino background to try to kind of have that, I guess, that kind of feel or influence there. herself lived in Spain for a long time, and she speaks Spanish very well. She held auditions and cast me, brought me in for this role, and it was kind of my stepping stone to kind of learn how these English dub animes work, right? And so it was the character of Bernardo in his story arc was friends with one of the lead heroes or good guys, essentially, right? But he's kind of turned over to the dark side when we see him, right? We see an episode of flashbacks where, you know, he's himself and when they were friends and whatnot, and then but towards, you know, the end of his arc, you know, he becomes like the Black Knight, right? Where when he transforms, he's trying to fight his old friend, and they have this big all-out fight. And so that's one of those roles where I was telling you earlier, where, you know, I got to sword fight and yell and scream and be the bad guy, you know, like, you know, oh, you're not gonna escape, and if, you know, I'm gonna by the power of me, I will end you, that kind of stuff, right? So it was fun. It was fun. It's always, you know, it's always fun to play a bad guy, not be a bad guy. Like, I don't want to be a bad guy, but playing a bad guy, it's fun.
I wonder why. Like, I understand. I remember, obviously nothing at your level, but like when I was in school, like elementary school, and they would say, okay, you guys play the good guys, you guys play the bad guys. I was like, bad guy first. But I wonder why. Like, I guess because we're taught to be the good persons always, sure. And then here's like, now you have like a free pass in this little tiny bubble to be the bad person. Let's see how that goes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know if maybe it's subconsciously when we play the bad guys, we get to be like the bad parts of us that we try not to be, you know what I mean? Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. Or maybe it's like there's more freedom because it's not real, so it's like you're not really hurting anybody, you're just pretending, right? So
I think that I think you hit the nail on the head with the freedom part, because it's like you can just do whatever and be like, yeah, okay, and now we're going back to our regular lives.
Yeah, but that wasn't me.
Today's day, being the bad character or the antagonist in the 70s, 80s, and 90s were different from today's day, because back then it was just the antagonist, the evil character, and that's it. We need to hate. Today's day, people are like, wait, so why that character is the evil one? And when diving into the background story, they're like, wait, it's not that bad. Wait, maybe the character is not the bad one.
Yeah, like, he's got a point. Well, they got a point.
I mean, the best example, Avenger, Thanos. Everybody like, Thanos, like, it is wrong what he did. But is that wrong what he did? And people are like, whoa, do we want to get here?
Yeah, like his reasons. Maybe his reasons. I get your reasons, but maybe you can do something different to fix it.
And the other point, like, people, planet were dying, so he restored the balance, so those planets are not dying now. And people are like, that was wrong. So how would you do it better? Yeah. So
you have all that power. There's other ways. Some, you know, give more resources. Maybe.
I mean,
but then there wouldn't be a story.
Exactly.
We need to drop in the conflict.
Yeah.
I was playing the other days, Kiara's favorite game, Helldivers, too. And the beginning was talking about a story. And one of the guys told me, hey, Onyx, haven't you realized we're not the good guys here? Like, we are here. That we're invading the planet. We're like spreading democracy, bombarding everybody. But didn't you realize a long time ago that we're the evil guys here? And I hear like, yeah.
We're just brainwashed.
Ivan, are you also Helldiver?
I wish. It looks so good. I played a little bit of the first one like years ago, but
nothing like the first one.
No, I haven't gotten into. No, it looks like it's nothing like the first one. It looks amazing, but I haven't. You know, I have two kids, it's hard for me to find the time to dive in to a game like again, right? And maybe soon. But
So-
Hopefully, you'll have the opportunity to experience such a wonderful game.
yeah, I know, and so it looks so good. And
It does.
And I see a lot about it, and I'm like, oh man, and the concept of it and the live aspect of it, it's just looks fantastic.
I mean, let's talking about divers. Let's dive into your background. How you got made it?
This segue, I can't. I can't.
I want to see you. Mira nomás.
I'm waiting for the window. Well, like, where's the window?
Okay.
What would you like to? Yes, for the beginning. Let's see. It was this fall of 1983. That's kidding. Well, as you know, GARO the animation. That was my first anime. Oh my gosh, what year was that? That's like 2015, maybe. No. Well, anyway, that's when I was already doing some voiceover before then, mostly commercial stuff, mostly, commercial work, or there was a couple of like educational videos where, I think there was one where I was doing like a Spanish math video. And so it was me and another actress, doing that. So I've done some voiceover, commercial work, industrial work, some TV and short and like independent films, short films, stuff like that. I've been doing, but I grew up in Dallas, Texas. I'm the firstborn of two Mexican immigrants from Mexico, so they came into Dallas, and that's where me and my siblings grew up. Before me, I think I had a cousin did some modeling briefly, but nobody ever really got into the arts. So I'm kind of like one of the first ones in the family to really dive into something like this. And it was something that I didn't pursue it in high school. Like I didn't have any friends that were in acting. I didn't have anybody that around me that did it. So it was like, I don't know. I don't want to be the only one. There was like that fear, which don't listen to that fear. If you're out there, don't listen to that fear. Just do what you want to do. And so I wish I would have done it earlier. And so I didn't jump into it till after my high school years, and doing it ever since. I've been working professionally as an actor for almost 20 years, and been enjoying it. Just every year, it's just been better and better. Done a lot of theater. I've done a lot of stage work, which is a blast. It's amazing to do that, to be in front of a live audience and have things be different every night. You don't know if something different is going to happen. There's something wonderful in that experience. If you ever get a chance to try it. But yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, I have two kiddos. I have a almost 3-year-old and a 10-month-old, and they are beautiful, wonderful, the best thing. I've been enjoying every moment with them that I can. Can't play video games anymore that much. But hey, it's okay. I try to sneak it in every now and then.
How do you? Okay, so you decided, okay, let's go into acting and do these things. But how did from acting you end up in dubbing?
Well, I mean, it's all part of the same industry, essentially. Living in Dallas, Funimation was always there in the area, right? It was always there, and I always knew a lot of friends that did voice acting and dubbing. I had years ago. Oh, when I was still in school, I had an ex-girlfriend who was she was going to do, I don't remember if it was an audition or going to do something at Funimation in like their old studio, which was really small. And I remember going with her, and I was like, she said, you should audition. I was like, okay, I'll audition. Worst audition. I wouldn't know what I was doing. And I was like, what? Okay. And I left. I was like, oh, that sucked. And then years late, then I didn't work, do dubbing until years later. And it was when Caitlin had those auditions for GARO that somebody sent me that way. They mentioned me to Caitlin Glass, who's the director, and she directed me in several shows already there. And so they had the auditions. I went in there and I read, and and then I got cast in that role. And from then on, Caitlin will call me in for things. She would recommend me to other directors when they needed something. And so then that's how I got to meet other directors, and I got to work with them. And so they got to know me, and so that I would be invited and cast, or I would audition and get cast in other roles. And that's how that started. And that's how I got, wrapped up in the dubbing world.
So, question. So, in the United States, many people, especially those who are bilingual or descended, not English language, because it's bigger than Hispanic. We also have those who speak other language, Asian language, or oh my God, Arabic, any language, just not English. We always fear the accent. And accent is something that always scares us at the moment, moving from the East Central Coast to any region. Did that fear any point challenge you? Like, okay, I might have an accent coming as a Hispanic family. Would it be a barrier? Or there was something that really how do you overcome that fear, that of being rejected? The challenge would be that barrier that will not allow you to get where you want to go.
Well, one thing, being an actor, and after you learn this after years, is the rejection, right? There's a lot of rejection. You're not going to get every role you audition for. You're not going to book everything. You might get rejected 50 times before you get one thing, right? Or 100 times before you get one thing. Sometimes it's like that. Sometimes it's like, oh, I just booked 3 things, right? You never know. That's the beauty and the downfall of this business. But anyway, to your question, the accent. When I first started going to school for acting, I wasn't fully aware of my accent. Going in there, it took a teacher to point it out to me, a voice teacher to point it out to me, and I was like, oh well, I didn't think that I had that much of an accent. I was like, oh, maybe I had some, but I guess it was pretty thick. And it's interesting, if I have some videos of me when I was in school then, and yeah, my accent was pretty thick. And it was because it was partly Mexican and partly like street kind of, going to school, from like being in school with folks from Dallas. It was like a Dallas accent, like an urban Dallas accent with a little Spanish accent in there. So at first, you get taught as an actor, it's like, oh, you want to neutralize your accent, you want to make sure that it's clear so you can get more work. And at least that was the thought then, when I was in school. This was early 2000s. And you want to be able to have the ability to speak, I guess, as an actor, if this is the business that you want to do, if this is what you want to pursue. I feel like you want to be able to have the ability to do that if you need to, or if you want to. There was a wonderful documentary. It was a PBS documentary about Raul Julia, and in that documentary, he was a wonderful actor, passed away years ago, but brilliant actor.
Best Gomez ever.
Best Gomez ever, yes. Yeah, exactly. And he talked about how his accent, how he felt like that was who he was. It was, if he had an accent, he wouldn't really try to hide it. Like he was just like he would do Shakespeare in the Park. He would do, there was clips of him and like Meryl Streep doing Taming of the Shrew, and it's like whatever slight accent he had. Well, it didn't matter because he was completely becoming these characters and delivering this brilliant performance. And so that accent didn't, any slight accent or any hint of an accent didn't matter, right? And so I've adopted that mentality where it's like I it's part of who I am. Now there's roles where you need a British accent, you need a New York accent or something like, or you just need maybe maybe I need to clarify my accent or neutralize my accent a bit so it's not so regional, right? So there's times where that happens, but ultimately I feel like I got to come as who I am, right? And then it's up to the people that are producing whatever that project is to decide if they want to use me or not. On the Spanish side, especially when I first started, Spanish was my first language growing up, 1 through 4 years old, 5-year-olds. And it continued at home, right? My parents always spoke to me in Spanish. That's what I spoke at home. But once I started school, kindergarten and on, it's all English for most of the day. Then you start watching, American television and all that stuff. So that it almost, and I've talked to several other people that have had this similar experience, that the English kind of becomes the first language, and and the Spanish becomes like the background language, right? As you grow up, which I didn't really fully realize it until I was older and was going out into the world trying to get acting roles. Especially being in Texas, there is a lot of bilingual work. And especially in like voiceover or radio commercials, if it's a Spanish spot, a Spanish commercial, they want you to have a Spanish speaking accent. They want you to speak Spanish without an American accent. And so early on, there was a lot of like, oh, his accent is just got too much of an American accent. We can't use him. It's just, or they would like me and they would call me back in to try to like see if I can clarify the Spanish better. And sometimes it wouldn't work. Sometimes it was okay. And so that really was an eye opener for me to really dive into being a better bilingual speaker. I worked at restaurants, a lot of the kitchen staff, a lot of the other wait staff, they were Spanish speakers from Mexico or other regions, El Salvador, whatnot. I would ask questions or I would it started out with like foods, like, oh, well, how do you actually pronounce that? I call it this, but then, you learn some of the words you would say are kind of like Spanglish words, or they're not accurate, or they're not the actual pronunciation or the actual word that's meant for that food, right? Or for that item. And so, yeah, asking questions and learning. I told myself I needed to do that to be able to get those roles and to be able to have a wider spectrum. Because it doesn't feel good to be rejected, and especially as a bilingual actor, as a Mexican American Tejano, going in and being like, yeah, I speak Spanish, and then it's like, well, no, your Spanish isn't good enough. It's pretty deflating, and so it was a big encouragement to really fix that. And then now as I got older, my English, I worked a lot in school, especially to neutralize that English. I was given this will age me. I was giving audio tapes, actual cassette tapes that were that were like English as a second language, I think. So it was like helping to clear the accent. And so I worked with that. I worked with tongue twisters and things like that to try to neutralize the accent. And I was getting, and I think it helped a lot. And then, as I got older, I think I started working with more folks that were, there was Latino theater companies and more folks that were also Spanish speakers. And I think, it brought out that natural language socially more. And then at some point I just let it go. And, if it needs to be a more neutral speech, I'll do it, or I'll do my best at it. But for the most part, I don't think it's necessary. In anime, it's different, because I know that I don't know, maybe it's not different, but I know that my voice can sound unique and stand out in a sea of like a straight English talking actors, so yeah, so yeah.
I can imagine your reaction after working hard to leave accent behind. You apply for an English dubcast and you're assigned to have a Spanish role in the English dub, where I'm talking now about Carlos in Sakura Quest. What I'm talking about? How you describe that experience?
That was amazing. I mean, when I came in and they told me like, oh, this is, you're playing these kids, they're in they speak Spanish. The main girls are going to this country where it's like a Spanish country or Latino country, and you're a soccer. No, I think they're a soccer team that's visiting, and they speak Spanish. I was like, so you want me to speak Spanish? Like, yeah, okay, sure. And it was interesting, and it was I remember. I don't remember the script being translated. It was normally translated in English, and so it was like we had the liberty to translate that English into Spanish, and it was fun. It was a short, it was like 2, maybe 3 scenes if I remember correctly, but even that little bit is it was magical to be able to come in to work where you normally are dubbing in English and be able to speak, the tongue of your parents, your culture, even if it was just for a little bit. It was insane. Yeah.
I can imagine you polishing that resume on English voice acting, English career. Great, that's excellent. We want you to speak Spanish.
Yeah. Yes. But, okay. But I came ready with some Shakespeare.
No surprise always happens, especially from language to soldiers. I'm talking about soldiers and small soldiers. One of your characters is in One Piece, Kyros, Thunder Soldier of Rage, the soldier.
Yeah.
Who is this Kyros in One Piece?
Kyros, he is. You first meet Kyros. He's a one-legged toy soldier on a roller skate. This is what I'm talking about. You come in and you never know what kind of characters you're going to voice. Mike McFarlane first brought me in for One Piece. And I think I did a couple of random voices early on of a sailor that is blown away from the ship. Oh, a pirate that gets dropped in the water. And then I came in for One Piece to read the role of Kyros they first had a movie episode of Sabo or something like that, which took the entire Dressrosa saga and rolled it up into a 2-hour movie or something like that. So that's when I first came and voiced Kyros. And he, like I said, he was this little toy soldier, and he's like, yeah, but in real life, he's not he's actual big dude and da 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 da. So I had to give him this gruffy voice, not like that, but better. And so he ended up having a long arc, and when we actually got to the episodes that he was in, his journey was just great, emotional and funny. When he first pops in, he kind of comes across as goofy and silly, and he's trying to like show show them like what's going on in Dressrosa, what Doflamingo has been doing to the people, and then you find out all the realities of like all these people that have been turned into toys, and the people that have and anybody that they ever knew or loved, all their memories of them have been erased. So like you learn he has a daughter who doesn't remember him at all, but he can't do anything about it. And then later on, in like after so many episodes, I got to play Kyros as he actually is when he's not a toy soldier. And I remember the first time I saw him. I don't know if you've seen this arc or anybody at home, but when the first time I saw him in human form, I was like, "What? This is the dude? This big, muscular warrior, fighter, Coliseum fighter guy." And I was like, "Whoa!" And he's like super fierce looking, and I was like, "Okay, this is crazy, but this is great." But then he has these moments of like ferocity and anger and rage, and he's tearing through things. But then he has the side with his daughter, especially in the flashbacks, where he's really sweet and he's really kind, and with his wife, there's like a nurturing and love there too. Playing all of that is just, it's just you can't ask for anything better, right? When you get to play such a range with a character, it's just an amazing thing. And One Piece is just a crazy show in general, and so it's. I'll tell you one of the funniest things from recording One Piece. I'm gonna take one of these out. Is there was whenever we would record super serious moments in One Piece, and at the same time, we're watching the actual episode, right? We're watching the clip like as we're recording it, and One Piece. Whenever they do the little breaks, the little commercial breaks, it's always like a little like this little funny little thing. So we'd be doing the super emotional scene. Kyros is crying. Then it'll cut to the break. It always cracked me up because it just would go from sad, dark to goofy, and then to another scene.
I have to give credit to One Piece. One Piece is long as hell anime. However, there are so many micro moments. Micro because it's huge theory, but emotional moments.
You mean normal moments, normal anime moments?
Like it will be
yeah.
It
would be a season.
Yeah, probably
like one normal anime season.
So many. There's over 1,000 episodes, right?
Yeah,
like over 1,000 episodes, and I don't come into like, oh man, it's like episode 500-600 or something like that. Something like that. So it's like, if you want to watch it from the beginning, go ahead. If you want to just skip to my part, feel free.
250, 300 hours later, there I am.
I really hope that at the end, the One Piece is just not the treasure of friendship of meeting everybody on this journey, because I know a lot of people are going to be very happy that's the case. But talking about other scenario where you have to cross invention, I think scene and samurai skill. Talking about Kosame Isshiki in Appare-Ranman.
Appare-Ranman, yes. That was the first show where I was one of the main leads. Again, thank you to Caitlin Glass. She's been a big supporter and friend of me in the anime dub world, and so she directed this show Appare-Ranman, which was it's basically me and Appare, Kosame and Appare, who are in Japan, and Appare is like super focused, like he's very technology savvy and very much like a little socially awkward, but very, very much knows how to build things and knows how to make things work and figure out how things work. And so he ends up like building this like boat, and Kosame is like, wait, no, go, and then they end up getting lost at sea, and then they end up in America in like the I think it's like the early 1900s, 40s maybe ish, something like that. But the show's interesting because yes, Kosame is very much samurai guy, and they are trying to get back home, but so they have to enter this big countrywide race where with all these other racers, and so they build their own kind of out of this boat that they brought over. They build this steam engine race car that they try to go into this win this race with, and Kosame is very much like a straight and narrow character. Like everything needs to be, we have to do this and this and that. But of course, the situations throw him in all kinds of things where he has to like improvise or panic or whatever. That was a fun character too, because he had a lot of nervous moments and a lot of like serious and moments where they're very is very nurturing and welcoming. And then if you watch the show later on, there's like some action scenes in there where he does like these crazy like video game samurai moves that I was like, I remember seeing it and voicing it, I was like, cool, I get to do that. I had like a whole power move that I got to say, and he does this slice and dice thing, and I was like, okay. You don't see it until like a few episodes, like several episodes in, and you're like, okay, Kosame, super cool dude. And so yeah, it was fun to have like a special move for a character.
I feel like in this episode we speak about a lot of life lessons through anime, different aspect, different way, lesson that we learn from anime. People many times underestimate anime. And we need to wrap it up with this series that I feel like it will not only life lesson, go to academic lesson, talking about how a realistic hero rebuilt the kingdom, where you had the character of Marx.
Marx, yes. That was Sean Gann brought me in for that. Marx, he was kind of like the advisor of the king, and this guy gets transported into this other world where it's very much knights and dragons, and it's like a king, like an old, like a magical kingdom or whatever, right? And so he ends up having to figure out how to save the kingdom using like modern day science and math or strategies. And Marx is like the advisor, and so he's very much like, oh, your majesty, you must that kind of like, no, listen to me, this is a bad idea, that kind of character, that you get to kind of have fun with and play with. It makes just doing this so much fun, right? Being in the booth and playing with it. And then sometimes Sean had to reel me back, the director, because I had a tendency of sounding like an old man when I would do that voice. It's like, he's not really an old man. Like, you're a little shaky on that, so let's try it again. And so we would do it a couple of times. But yeah, it was fun to do that and be that kind of character, right? There's a magic in voiceover, in dubbing. When acting in general, sometimes in acting, like on camera or on stage, you get opportunities to play different roles, and roles that aren't necessarily like your middle ground, like who you are, right? So you get to expand and do something crazy or something silly or something out of the box. You get that sometimes, but especially in on camera roles, unfortunately, I feel like we're bound a lot by our looks, and what we look like. And when you audition or when you try out for a role, they're trying to just cast quickly, so sometimes they don't you don't have the time to try different things or try new things. But with voiceover, it doesn't matter how you look. You just play with your voice, and you can be whatever character you want, right? And that's why I love doing voiceover and love doing dubbing, because you can play with all kinds of voices, and you can play a big muscular fighter like Kyros to a dark, sultry stoic fairy like, Challe, to, Kyousuke Kuga and Bernardo's bad guy, and, Carlos speaking Spanish. Shit, I mean, there's so many different things we can do. And so, yeah, Marx is just an example of that, the playfulness of building and developing a character.
This is going to be more of a parenthesis for like this podcast, but every time we do come across an actor who also does it in front of camera work, on camera work, I don't even know. We definitely have to talk. We definitely have to talk about this, because it's just, I personally find it like very different, and the whole production and aspect around on-camera work is so different than voice acting. I'm talking about none other than the series that's ongoing right now, and you're starring in Chosen. How? Because why do we have to talk about this? Because I know Onyx's mom is going to be a big fan of this, and she hasn't watched it, and I am sure my mother as well. And I don't know if she's actually watching it right now, but in Spanish, I think they might dub this one. I have no clue. But I'll for sure tell her, because if she's not, because I know she was watching a series like this. I remember last year when I went to go visit her, she was watching something like this, and I don't know if it's this one specifically, but if not, I'm just gonna be like, hey mom, you gotta go definitely watch this, because I interviewed this person and he's in there. Yeah. So how would you describe the series?
The Chosen? Well, The Chosen is, it has been dubbed. It's been dubbed in like 600 languages from what I understand.
There you go.
So it's definitely in Spanish. Definitely in Spanish. But yeah, The Chosen is a series that focuses on the life and not the life, but the events and the journey of Jesus Christ, leading up to the crucifixion. And it follows him and the people around him, basically the folks, focusing a lot on the folks that witnessed his miracles, witnessed the events that happened. All of his followers, the followers and the disciples, and it's a show. It's a show that's written in a unique way, in the sense that it's written to develop the characters in a relatable way. Disciples, Jesus himself, the Romans that are in the city, everyone that was in that time. Is written in a way that's relatable. And what I mean is, you watch the show and these characters are going through struggles. These characters are going through relationship problems. These characters are going through, work issues, financial issues. There's things that are actually happening to these characters as humans that and that aren't just characters that are in a that we know in the biblical sense, right, in the book, right? Because in the Bible we see these people, but we don't know like how they got from point A to point B, right? So the show does a really great job of filling in those blanks, interpreting those events, right? Like why, how did how did Jesus come about healing, this person, or this blind person, or how did Thomas come to doubt him? How did how did these events happen? So in the show, the writers really do a good job of kind of filling in those blanks, and giving everybody like real reasons of why they're following Jesus, real reasons of why they're doing the things that they do. And as you watch the show, you'll see familiar things, like things that you've read about, like, oh, there's this moment, oh, there's that moment, oh, this is interesting, so this could be how this happened. Because another thing they do well is that they try to be as historically accurate as they can. They are historically accurate with that first century Rome, Jerusalem, and Capernaum. So I think that the unique thing about this show is the way it's written and the way it's directed, and the production value is incredible.
I have a silly question. Are you allowed to dub yourself in Spanish?
Yeah, I'm sure I am. I'm sure I am. Yes, I didn't ask, and the reason because I felt like I didn't want to take any work from the person that they're using to dub. Right, they're using actors in Mexico to dub in Spanish in the Mexican market. They're using folks in Puerto Rico to dub. I feel like if I were to be like, hey, let me do it, I feel like, well, then they wouldn't have that opportunity to be a part of it and to lend their voice as well. And some of these actors that are voicing him in these specific countries are known actors too. So they're the people that are watching in that language, they can recognize the voice. Right?
I think that's the best way to wrap up the episode with an ethic lesson over there, because you weren't expecting a one-on-one meeting, ethics on acting. Here you have a good example, but Ivan just threw here. So Ivan, thank you so much for joining us today. For any words of advice or life advice for those who are considering joining the voice acting career?
I'd say just, be brave and go for it. I'd say make sure take care of your voice. If you do it, take care of your voice. It's an instrument. Regardless of what voices you can do, eventually it will get tired and it will wear out. If you're doing long sessions, if you do get into that. So I would say, try it. Don't be afraid to fail, because that happens sometimes, and that's how we learn. If something doesn't work, okay, that doesn't work. How can I make it better? Or what can I do that will work? Right. So just keep trying.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Any social, for those who haven't followed you yet, which social media shall they follow you?
They can follow me on Instagram. Official Ivan Jasso is my tag, at official Ivan Jasso. And that's mainly where I operate on. I try to be more present on social media. Sometimes I lack that, but that's where I would be most present on Instagram.
And if you have any problem finding Ivan Instagram, just go down to the description to this video and expand the description. You're going to find a link. We say Ivan Jasso Instagram. Click here. You click over there, will take you to Instagram, where you can just one click, just follow Ivan. And with another click, we humbly ask you to click like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and all our social media pages that we have, such as Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Twitch, or just go to Google and write El Koki Otaku. You want to find everything. Hopefully, all good news. So far, we don't have anything bad. So I hope we keep the clean record. And you're still want to see do something different aside from anime, Kiara's new project, El Koki Formula 1, where you can learn about the 101 of what is Formula 1 from people like you and me. What is Formula 1? It's a mathematical equation. It's gasoline. It's, I don't know, the juice that we put in the car, or it's just oil and water mixed. What the heck is Formula 1? There's such a Formula 2, 3, 4, Formula 8, all those details. Koki Formula 1 YouTube Kiara's new project, where she's leading it, and we're having fun with all those Grand Prix, all the rooms going on. So, Ivan, thank you so much for joining us today. Have been a pleasure to meet you.
Of course, same here. Mucho gusto. Thank you.
Y nos veremos en la próxima. Sayonara.
Bye.
Sayonara.